Hi everyone, welcome to my mat Pilates glute sculpting workout. We're going to start lying down on our sides. Doesn't matter which one you start with. So come down on your side. This one we're going to be focusing primarily on the glute medius and minimus, but we'll still get some glute max in there as well. And this is a great workout. You don't need any equipment. If you want to up your game a little bit, you can always put on some ankle weights to make it a little bit harder, but completely optional. So let's start off finding our nice neutral spine. So coming down, lying on your side here, you can rest your head on your arm, or you can always place a little pillow or a block here if that's more comfortable for you. And we're gonna make sure we're in a neutral spine. So our knees are gonna be bent in front of us. We're gonna think about stacking those hips straight on top of each other. Like you could have a straight line from the floor to the ceiling right through those hips. And then we want to get as much length through the side of the waist as possible. So think about shifting that top hip away a little bit, like you could slide a piece of paper between your low side waist and the mat. From here, we're going to start with those knees bent. You can have your hand on your hip or out in front of you. We're going to lift that top knee up and then close it back down to start. So we're getting into these clamshells right away, which is going to be a nice, fun way to start here. Now, when we're in this neutral spine, we're naturally limited in how high that knee can go. So really can only go out about 45 degrees. And that's just based on bone structure for the most part. If you find that you're able to open your knee really wide, then that means you're coming out of that neutral. So we're going to lift and lower. Let's go for 3 and 2 and 1. Very nice. On this next one, let's lift that top knee up, disconnect the feet, and then we're going to turn the top knee down to meet the bottom knee, lift it up, and tap the toes together. So we're internally rotating to tap the knees, externally rotating to tap the toes. Excellent. Nice. Moving through this a couple more times. So we're finding that range of motion in the hip socket, opening and closing. Let's go for 3 and 2. Last one here. You got it. Close that knee back down. From here, we're going to lift those feet up about a foot off the mat, and then we're going to do that same open and close with the top knee. So making that clamshell just a little bit harder now with those feet lifted. We won't be here for too long. Let's go for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, last 2, and last one, lowering everything back down. Whew, okay, good job. Give yourself a little pat there and a reset. And then when you're ready, we're going to lift that top hip up to hip height again. This time we're going to keep that leg in this one plane, and it's going to stay bent at 90 degrees at the knee. So we're going to bring the knee in towards the chest and then glide that leg back, kicking it back behind you. Good. Gliding forwards and gliding back. Excellent. Moving through this a couple times. Again, keeping those hips stacked. If it helps you to have that hand on your hip for some tactical feedback, I always find that's a good way to make sure I'm staying in that neutral spine and really isolating through the glutes and finding that extension and flexion in the hip. Let's make this one a little bit bigger now. So on this next one, we're going to glide that knee forwards, kick the foot out straight out in front of you, and then glide it back behind you, bending the knee in, coming forwards, and kicking out. So it's like you're doing a really big bicycle pedal here. And I don't know about you, but my glutes are burning already. We're just on the first side. So sticking with this, couple more here. Let's go for 3 and 2. Woo. Last one, kick that leg straight out in front of you. Point the toes down towards the floor. Lift and lower that leg for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend that knee in. Ooh, okay, good stuff here. We're gonna extend both legs out from here. So now we're making that one long line on the mat. Same idea, we want to make sure we're getting as much length through the top side waist as possible and that those hips are stacked right on top of each other. Let's point the toes of that top foot, lift up to hip height, tap down in front, lift up and tap down behind that bottom leg. So you're drawing a little arch here with the toes. Again, it's not going to be a big movement. We are limited in how high we can lift that leg while staying in neutral spine. Good. Oh, it does not take too many. The more you pull that leg out away from the hip socket, the harder it's going to feel. So keep that in mind. Let's go for 3 more, tapping in front and back. The last 2. And last one, lift that leg up to hip height, point the toes, draw tiny circles forwards, just like the size of a golf ball here, for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and back for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower that leg down just for a moment here. It's not going to be for long, I'm sorry. We're going to lift that leg up to hip height. This time it's going to stay in place and the bottom leg's going to lift up to meet it and bottom leg lowers. Good, so we're using those inner thighs to lift that leg up and down for 8 and 7. Last 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower everything down for a moment. Whew, okay, we're almost done on this side, I promise. Keep pulling that belly button in. Core is nice and strong. We're lifting that top leg up to hip height. This time we're going to externally rotate it so that knee starts pointing up towards the ceiling and then come back to a parallel, knee out in front of you. So we're external and internal rotation just with that top leg to get that feeling of rotating that thigh bone in the hip socket. It's not going to feel super easy, even though it's a very small movement. That's okay. On this next one, let's externally rotate. We're going to bend that knee, draw the toes in towards the bottom knee, and then lift straight up, flex the foot, and then gradually lower that leg down. Nice. Pointing the toes, drawing that foot in, extend, and then let it go. Nice. And like we're moving through honey here. Super slow. You're almost done on this side. You got it. Last 2. And last one. Ooh, very good. Let's bend those knees in. Press yourself back up. Take a nice little side bend here, reaching up and over to one side. And then up and over to the other side. Great work. Release those shoulders. We're going to swing those legs around to the other side and then just rewatch this video to get the other side done. Thanks for joining and have a good rest of your workout.